Okay, there we are. Good morning, everybody. Jessica Miller here, 7:15 on a Thursday morning. I hope everyone's going okay. Don't know what's going on with the video editor. Okay, Jessica Miller here. It says I'm live. Last week I put up on my blog post about jury trial number 3. As you probably know, or maybe you don't know, I've decided to go through all of my jury trials just to talk about the things that I've learned, discuss problems, things that I've changed, growth as a criminal prosecutor. I really think that there's a space for that that's missing out in the world. We don't talk about criminal prosecution from a prosecutor's standpoint a whole lot other than convictions in court. And there's so much more to that in terms of our growth as criminal prosecutors. So I started at the beginning and I'm on number 3. So last week I did a blog post called The Jury Trial where I learned about constructive criticism. I hope that you had a chance to read it. If not, I'm going to put a link in the comments so you can read it if you want to. But I'm going to do a little overview here as well. So this was a jury trial that I handled about 10 years ago. It was DUI. So I'm in misdemeanors. I'm a relatively new prosecutor. And hold on, I've got something popping up. And you cut your teeth on DUI. So this was my second DUI trial, and the facts were pretty straightforward as far as DUIs go. Defendant was pulled over at 9 o'clock in the evening for speeding. He exhibited objective signs of intoxication by the officer that were noted in the report: red, watery, glassy eyes, slow, thick, slurred speech. He had a moderate odor of alcohol and an unsteady gait, and he admitted to having 1 beer with dinner. Now, he completed some field sobriety tests, and those were marginal at best. They did a PAS test, which is the breath test they do on scene, and then he did a formal intoxilizer breath test that came back at 0.12% about 40 minutes after driving. This was a guilty. It was. But the reason we're talking about it is because the facts were such that it was very much like a lot of DUIs that come in. We have a pretty high volume of DUIs when you're in that assignment. They come in pretty regularly. And so you see the same pattern: vehicle code violation, pullover, OSIs followed by FSTs, a PAS, and then it's confirmed by some kind of breath or blood test. And so in this case, the officer he also loved DUIs. Like, he loved to work that time of night, that special time of night, in those special locations where you know that people are going to drive while intoxicated. And so when it came to presenting the evidence to the jury, it came off more as any DUI rather than this specific DUI. And even though it was a guilty, the jury held back because they wanted to talk to myself and to defense attorney about the fact that this felt not specific. It felt too generic in the presentation of evidence, and they really wanted the officer and myself to understand that this should have been more tailored to this particular defendant. And that got me thinking about criminal prosecution in general, because even though we have elements, right? Every crime has elements and things that we have to prove. And so we're really focusing on those things. For a particular defendant, this is very specific to him, even though it could be any DUI. This was this defendant's DUI. It was his liberty that was at stake. And so the jury was right. We needed to make it more specific to him. And their advice, especially to the officer, was to slow down and to only put things in the report that they felt applied. So rather than having checklists and things like that, or having some verbiage that you use all the time, really go out of your way to try and specifically describe what was going on. So instead of saying thick, slow speech, you say, well, he had a slightly slurred speech. I can't even say it. Slightly slurred speech. That was one of the criticisms I remember. And that really came out because this was when body cam had first started to become regular, more routine in its use. And so when we watched the body cam with the jury, rather than seeing what the jury was expecting, which was a lot of slow speech, very thick and slurred, this was really more of a moderate slur. And so they really wanted to see that particular information provided to the jury. So that was just one of the things that I took from that. So I had paperwork was involved, right? we had to do a memo, and then we met with the officer, and we really critiqued each other's presentation of the evidence. And I think both of us learned from that experience that we have to be cognizant of the fact that every jury trial relates to an individual, and so every jury trial is different, and every jury trial is important regardless of what the crime is, because someone's liberties are at stake. So that's jury trial number 3. If you haven't read the post, I will put a link to my blog and that particular post in the comments, and then we'll move on to number 4. Hopefully this weekend I'll get number 4 up, and that's about it. I'm on my way to court today. I have a calendar. This is my calendar day. So I will be in court, and hopefully I will see you all soon. Talk to you later. Bye.